General Hospital spoilers. Alexis scores major dirt on Michael and Tracy as Willow's trial takes a stunning, unthinkable turn. Port Charles has seen its fair share of courtroom bombshells, but nothing, and no one, could have prepared the town for what unfolded when Willow Tate's trial took center stage. What began as a tense legal battle quickly spiraled into a full-scale reckoning that threatened to shatter some of the most powerful families in town. At the heart of it all stood Alexis Davis, armed not just with legal brilliance, but with secrets so explosive they could rewrite the future of the Corinthos, Quartermain, and even Spencer legacies. As the gavel struck and the courtroom doors closed, alliances crumbled, hidden agendas were exposed, and Willow's fate became intertwined with a truth that no one wanted to see come to light.
This wasn't just a trial. It was a war.
From the moment Willow stepped into the courtroom, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation. Dressed in understated elegance, her hands trembling ever so slightly, Willow carried the weight of a town's judgment on her shoulders. She wasn't just fighting for her freedom, she was fighting for her identity, her family, and the future she desperately wanted to protect. Michael Corinthos sat behind her, jaw clenched, eyes never leaving his wife. To the outside world, he looked like the picture of unwavering support. But beneath that carefully constructed facade, cracks were already beginning to show.
Because Alexis Davis knew something.
Something Michael never imagined would come back to haunt him. Alexis Davis has always been underestimated, and that has always been her greatest weapon. To some, she's the recovering alcoholic with a complicated past.
To others, she's the moral compass of Port Charles law.
But to those who truly know her, Alexis is a master strategist who understands one crucial truth: everyone has a weakness. And in this case, she had found two. Michael Corinthos.
Tracy Quartermain.
What no one realized was that Alexis hadn't just been preparing a defense or prosecution strategy. She had been quietly following a paper trail that led straight into the darkest corners of Quartermain corporate maneuvering and Corinthos family secrets. And once she pulled that thread, the entire tapestry began to unravel. For years, Michael Corinthos has been portrayed as the reformed heir, the son who wanted nothing more than to break free from Sunny's shadow and do things the right way. But as Alexis would soon reveal, righteousness has a way of bending when power and desperation collide. Behind closed doors, Michael had made moves that blurred ethical lines, moves tied directly to Willow's legal nightmare. Alexis uncovered confidential emails, financial transfers, and a devastatingly incriminating agreement that suggested Michael had tampered with evidence long before Willow's trial ever began.
The motive? Protection.
Michael believed he was shielding Willow from the worst consequences of a system stacked against her. But in doing so, he may have crossed a line that put her in even greater danger. And Alexis had the proof. Midway through the proceedings, just as the prosecution believed they had Willow cornered, Alexis rose from her seat. The courtroom stilled. Judge Heron raised an eyebrow. "Ms. Davis, do you have something to add?" Alexis adjusted her glasses, her voice calm, but razor-sharp. "Yes, Your Honor. I believe this court deserves to see evidence that fundamentally alters the narrative we've been presented."
Michael froze.
Willow turned, confused, then frightened. What Alexis submitted next sent shockwaves through the gallery, documents linking Michael Corinthos to a behind-the-scenes manipulation of witness testimony.
Not coercion. Not bribery.
Something far more subtle, and far more damning.
Strategic influence.
The kind that doesn't look illegal, until it absolutely is. Willow had trusted Michael with her life.
With her children.
With her future. She never imagined he would make decisions for her, especially decisions that could cost her everything. As the implications sank in, Willow's face drained of color. Tears welled in her eyes, not just from fear, but from betrayal. Michael stood, trying to object, but the damage was done.
The courtroom was buzzing.
And Alexis wasn't finished. If Michael's involvement was shocking, Tracy Quartermain's connection was downright seismic. Alexis revealed that Tracy, ever the formidable architect of Quartermain power plays, had orchestrated a corporate maneuver tied to the same timeline as Willow's legal troubles. A maneuver that redirected funds, buried critical information, and ensured certain records would never surface, unless someone knew exactly where to look. Alexis knew. The implication was staggering. Tracy hadn't just been protecting the Quartermain name. She had been actively influencing events that directly impacted Willow's case.
Why? Because Willow represented a threat. A threat to legacy control. A threat to Michael's independence. A threat to Tracy's carefully maintained grip on the Quartermain empire. When Tracy was called to the stand, the tension was electric.
Tracy, composed and icy, denied everything, until Alexis began asking questions that cut uncomfortably close to the truth.
Dates. Transactions.
Phone calls. With each answer, Tracy's confidence wavered.
And then Alexis delivered the blow no one saw coming.
She presented a recorded conversation, legal, admissible, and devastating, where Tracy explicitly discussed neutralizing potential liabilities connected to Michael's domestic complications.
The room erupted.
Even Tracy Quartermaine, queen of unshakable composure, looked rattled. The judge called an immediate recess.
But the momentum had already shifted.
What began as Willow on trial had transformed into an investigation of corruption, manipulation, and abuse of power. The prosecution scrambled.
The defense recalibrated.
And Willow, once the accused, suddenly became the victim of forces far larger than herself. Alexis had flipped the script. No Corinthos drama stays contained for long. When word reached Sonny that Michael's actions were under scrutiny, his reaction was swift and dangerous. Sonny didn't see a son who made a mistake.
He saw a system that had backed his family into a corner. And Sonny never reacts well to that.
Behind the scenes, pressure mounted.
Calls were made. Warnings were issued.
But Alexis Davis had faced Sonny before.
And she wasn't backing down now.
That night, Willow confronted Michael. Not with anger, but with heartbreak. "Did you trust me so little," she asked, "that you thought I couldn't face this on my own?"
Michael tried to explain. To justify. To plead. But some betrayals don't shatter loudly.
They crack quietly, and echo forever. They crack quietly, and echo forever. Willow walked away, uncertain not just about the trial, but about her marriage.
Alexis wasn't chasing headlines. She wasn't seeking revenge.
She was fighting for something deeply personal, truth without manipulation. For years, Alexis had watched powerful families rewrite outcomes behind closed doors.
She had lost daughters to that system.
Lost herself to it. This time, she refused to let it win. And as the trial resumed, it became clear that Alexis' strategy wasn't just about exonerating Willow, it was about exposing the machinery that put her there in the first place. With Michael under investigation, Tracy's influence questioned, and Willow's case hanging in the balance, Port Charles stands on the edge of irreversible change. Will Michael face consequences for his actions? Will Tracy lose her iron grip on the Quartermaine legacy? And will Willow emerge stronger, or forever altered by the truth?
One thing is certain.
Alexis Davis has changed the game. And in Port Charles, no one escapes the fallout when secrets finally come to light. Willow makes a decision that could redefine her future. Michael faces a reckoning he never anticipated. Tracy fights back, with devastating consequences. Alexis uncovers one final secret that could destroy everything.
Port Charles will never be the same.